OMG, baby, tell him.
Hey there, welcome to One Take. I am joined, it's One Take powered by Backers, new name, same great content. I am joined here by Geoff Olsen, a longtime former coworker from a long, I guess, almost 10 years ago, 10 years ago. Geoff, thank you very much for joining me.
Justin, it's good to be here, man. And now I'll be on my best behavior now that you hit the record.
No. That's the opposite. That's the opposite. This is where the stories do come out. No.
This is where we punch up the energy. Okay, got it.
Yeah, no. But ideally, I mean, obviously, again, thank you for joining me. I'll give everyone just a quick bio. You and I worked together back in the Zero Footprint days with yours truly, Ron Dembo. I guess I shouldn't say yours truly, Ron Dembo, but with Ron Dembo, yours truly, and yourself. If I knew how to speak, maybe this show would go a little better. But anyways,
keep it raw, man. Keep it raw. It's
exactly. But right now you are a green building professional who finds creative ways for organizations to leverage technology to reduce energy and carbon usage in their buildings. So we met at Zero Footprint, which was sort of a mishmash. We were just talking a little bit about a lot of entrepreneurial kind of endeavors were coming out of there. Everyone kind of had the I guess free range to kind of explore different things to some extent.
Well, that was your classic small startup, right?
Right.
I mean, totally entrepreneurial. There was no rule book, and it didn't necessarily explode or pan out, but it was exciting times.
Yeah,
that's where you and I met. And then since then, I mean, I have now worked for since then, medium-sized businesses, big businesses, etc. But all generally on the what I would say we'll call it the startup type.
Okay.
Endeavor.
More on the green energy, or like across all sectors? Like what would be the focus?
Generally, there's always a buildings component and a building improvement thing. Generally around energy and sustainability. That's where my heart lies. That's what gets me going in the morning. So finding creative ways to apply all sorts of technology and just new business models to buildings to make them better.
Right. So prior to Zero Footprint, what were you doing? So give me sort of like, I know we probably had this conversation 8 years ago, but let's so sit down, prior to Zero Footprint. I usually say choose your own adventure. That's kind of one of the things I do on the show. It's either tell me about what you're doing today or tell me about what got you here. So you know what? We'll go with I like the choose your own adventure route. Tell me, it's kind of, this show is raw. It is what it is. It goes in many different directions. There's really no rhyme or reason. The idea is just to hear your story. Other people are out there. We've got a few thousand viewers across several platforms that, would like to hear what Geoff, where he was, where he is, what brought him to where he's, wants to be. And choose your own adventure. Or you can go a third route, a write-in ballot of where you wanted to go.
Well, see, back when I was in kindergarten,
there you go. Where did you go to kindergarten? What school?
Chartland Public. Oh no, actually no. I was at Ellesmere Staten Public School. I barely even remember that. But yes, Ellesmere Staten.
Do you want to know a secret that not many people know? That actually, ironically, it's not a secret. I didn't even know. So recently, I was asking my parents. I was trying to figure out my junior kindergarten, where I went to junior kindergarten, because I couldn't remember what school I went to, right? And I asked my mom, and she said, "You didn't go to junior kindergarten." So I literally skipped JK. Anyways.
Mom, why is there this void in my
life? Why is my memory hazy as to where I went for JK? The answer is you didn't do JK. So maybe that says a lot about a lot of things. Anyways.
Justin, I'm an engineer by training and a kind of a sales and BD guy by practice. I spent the first decade of my career in the robotics space, and mainly because I just loved that shit. It was just cool, right?
Because you're a mechanical engineer, right?
Yeah, mechanical engineer. So I kind of spent a lot of years with a robotics company as a designer, and then I kind of moved into customer service and stuff like that, and managing a team. But then I just found that, you know, it was cool and all, but I wasn't getting behind it from a you know, like, it didn't just light my fire. There wasn't that passion for it. Was medical laboratory automation. So I was like, you know, I wanted to find something that was, yeah. I wanted to find something that was like that lit my fire in a better way, and that's what kind of led me into this world of energy and sustainability, where you could really apply your technical brain while at the same time, you know, having a socially beneficial bent on things. And so I joined a friend of a friend. Was running a lighting controls company, and he brought me over, starting as customer service, but very swiftly moved into a sort of sales role there, where I also then found a new passion, which is sales, which is problem solving. It's meeting with your clients and just trying to figure out what they're trying to do with in my case, with their buildings, or what ails them, and trying to find solutions and finding a way that it could be a technical solution, could be a business model, but, you know, something that you do the way it solves a problem for them. So that's how I kind of tie engineering and sales together. They're both problem solving. And then it was kind of coincidental that I landed in the energy space just because of a friend of a friend. But then the second half of my career, last decade or so, has been in this space. I've represented technologies that everything from, as I said, lighting control to HVAC control, smart glazing. There's windows you can control the darkness of the tint. When we were at Zero Footprint, we were trying to do behavior change modeling and customer engagement for buildings. And so, yeah, just various versions of that. Now, where I've landed right now, and I've been for the past 3 odd years, is with a company called Enwave. And it's a district.
I did a little bit of research. I did see.
Oh, what did your research tell me?
No, that's it. That's it. That's all I got. The name.
Enwave. Okay. Well, what we do is we connect buildings together and provide heating and cooling to these buildings, but generally really big buildings. We're best known here in Toronto for our deep lake water cooling infrastructure. So we pull water from deep within Lake Ontario, very cold water, and we transfer that chill into our own network of pipes, and we cool buildings with it. So it's a massively energy efficient model, and that's on the cooling side. And on the heating side, you know, currently most of Toronto uses natural gas for heating, as do we for many of our customers right now. But we're basically, anything we're signing on right now, instead of using steam heat, we're using hot water, which then we can create that heated water from all sorts of low carbon technologies, everything from heat recovery chillers. I won't get into the technology, but it's basically applying interesting low carbon technologies. So our goal, because we're like in 70 million square feet of building space in Toronto.
So a lot of downtown Toronto, right? Primarily like the big towers, like the TD towers and those.
Yeah, but we're also getting into like standalone big developments that are away and starting brand new district energy systems to provide, again, low energy, low carbon heating and cooling and beyond.
It's funny. And so would that be sort of like the cooling side? Would that be considered sort of like a geothermal type of application, or no?
Yes. Well, you're absolutely right. Deep lake water cooling is a form of geothermal energy. Instead of tapping into the ground.
Not just a pretty face.
Oh man, you're doing well. You're doing well. As I said, you got to explain this to me because I'm still trying to figure it out.
What the show or what we're doing, or backers?
No, geothermal. Tell me more.
So I mean, I'd worked not so much geothermal, but more on the solar side prior, obviously being with Zero Footprint. But we did some geothermal projects where you dig down, especially on like sort of remote. I believe they would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, like more like remote, large scale facilities that maybe can't tap into the local grid that could then utilize geothermal, where you're digging down, hundreds of feet, I think thousands maybe.
Yeah, you're dead on, man.
To tap into sort of that hot and cold. From my understanding, it was both.
Exactly. And we're doing with the technology you're describing is called Geo Exchange more specifically, and we're doing that as well. In some of our we got a project in Markham with Mattamy Homes, where we're going to be attaching 300 single-family homes to a geo exchange network for low carbon heating.
Right.
So that, which is, and we're that's a bit of a kind of like a pilot project for us. We're really trying to see if we can make a positive business case, which no one has really done at scale, is single-family homes on geo. And if we can do it well here in our partnership with Mattamy and the city of Markham, both of which we got to give shout outs to for making this a reality.
Yeah.
If we can crack that nut together as a team, then I think that that's going to really could change the way that we heat and cool single-family
Interesting.
homes.
So just for those watching, and for me as well, essentially what that will mean is that home will arguably have zero heating and cooling costs or minimal, where you might have to
let's
adjust.
Not get ahead of ourselves on zero costs.
Okay, right.
The goal is to
reduce,
have these future buildings or these houses kind of be cost neutral, right?
Okay.
So you're not going to spend any more on your energy, but you're going to get it at zero carbon. You're not burning anything to make that.
Let's do that math. So am I paying more for the house because of the technology, or for the technology in the house, and that's the cost? Or is there still a cost to actually get the, so describe geothermal, because let's actually go down this route. Let's do
go for it.
How does that work in a single family home?
The one that you asked though is about costs.
Right.
And the way that you're going to make this a viable business model is not by making it any more expensive. You've got to figure out a way so that it does not cost the homeowner any more upfront, does not cost them anything more in the long run. There are those customers out there who would spend more for low carbon energy, but most people would not.
Yeah.
So the nut that we're trying to crack is, how do you do it at cost neutral yet still be carbon neutral, right? So that so that's, and it's tough at this point to do that when you're taking a single home. I'm talking a single family home here, a single house. You come and you drill a bunch of bore fields. You drill a bunch of bore holes, and you connect those deep drill holes to the house. And basically the way that it works is that when you're heating the house in the winter, you're taking heat out of the ground. You're kind of cooling off the ground underneath you to heat the house. And then when it comes to the summer, now when you're cooling the house, now you're sitting on top of a very cold block of rock. Right. And then now you're putting your heat from your building in the summer back into, and it's kind of like you're treating it like a battery. That's how it works.
So what pushes and pulls, like what's powering that flow? Is it manual or automatic, or?
It's a heat pump.
It's a heat pump? Okay.
And just think of it, that is a device that uses electricity to move heat from one place to another. Right. That's all it is. In fact, like an air conditioner is a heat pump, but generally you're taking heat out of your house and pushing it to the outside. That's what an air conditioner does. But in this case,
there's no sort of cooling like coils or anything. You're just actually taking it, exchanging it fully.
No, there still are coils, etc. But that's sort of and it depends on what your building looks like. But just think of it as like an air conditioner, but instead of using the coils to take the heat out of your house and throw it into the air, it's not gone. In the summer, you're taking it out of your house and you're putting it underground. Right. You're storing it underground, and then you've stored up at the end of the season all that heat. Now you're using that heat to heat your house. And that's the zero carbon thing.
So it actually does store the heat in, so how far are they drilling down? I was just throwing numbers out there, but how far are they actually drilling down?
An average of 600 to 800 feet. Pretty deep.
So
and it always depends on your local soil conditions, etc.
Right. So and then with the 300 homes, you're building a network of these these towns. So it's kind of storing it all.
We're a district energy company. So our specialty is connecting a whole bunch of buildings together to drive efficiencies. And that's kind of like what we're talking about doing now at this Markham Mattamy project. Is instead of one house, one bore field, you have a bore field serving 300 houses. And then the goal is that with all that efficiency and economies of scale, that you're able to do something that, back to your original question, is capital cost neutral and OPEX neutral. So that the residents like, great, I'm not spending any extra money. I got low carbon heating, feel good about myself. Right. And maybe even when you sell that house down the road, maybe it's worth more.
Value, right. And the costs aren't over and above what they'd be paying on a daily basis anyways. To heat it. Interesting. Okay, so where do we go from here?
I don't know. I like you're talking I don't know, like
Futurist.
entrepreneurialism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I was actually just talking with one of our, I guess, I don't know what he's helping us build out an accelerator program. He's writing a bunch of different articles on so the concept of backers and providing opportunity for those that maybe don't have opportunity to actually get out and get funding and be supported in the community and let those ideas thrive. So I asked him a question, write me, what does that look like in 50 years or 100 years? Give me that futurist perspective. So I'll ask that question of you. Give me the futurist perspective of where do you see, maybe the geothermal that you're working on, or what are some of the other projects that maybe you're working on that you can see really having or maybe not that you're specifically working on, but that are out there that you think will have a significant impact? Because I think the conversation doesn't get brought up as much anymore, but I believe, well, although maybe COVID has been a bit of a rewind for some of the, a lot of the pollutants. I heard at one point, like, what was it, the Seine or one of the rivers, had like live, fish swimming in again. You could see the bottom and stuff like that, where, the boats hadn't been traveling for 3 months, right? Maybe Mother Nature got a bit of a break for 3 months there back in the beginning of the year. But needless to say, it's not going away. We've gone this far. Where do you see us going in 50 years? What are some of the things, put on your prognosticator or Nostradamus hat? Where do you see the world going in 50 years?
Yeah, God, I guess
is that a tough question to go down, or?
Oh, that's a rabbit hole, man. We can go
right.
Go
obviously,
all sorts of different directions on that.
Obviously,
and maybe it's the conservative part of my brain that says, what's the point in prognosticating out 50 years? But no, I mean, I think that one of our goals.
And our interview's over. No, just kidding. That's no fun for TV. No, just yeah.
No, I think one of the things we're trying to do, I'll speak about us, is that we're trying to find, use capitalism to drive socially positive behavior or change. And our particular brand of socially positive behavior is low carbon, low energy. Right. So like renewables and all that kind of stuff. So, and when I say using capitalism to do so, I mean, we're a private company. We're owned by a company called Brookfield. They're our single shareholder.
Brookfield Properties.
Brookfield Asset Management under their Brookfield Infrastructure Partners group. But really, that's less important. But what we do is we deploy capital to do low carbon, low energy systems at scale. And then when I say at scale, again, here in Toronto, I think we're up around 70 million square feet of building space. Enwave works coast to coast. We got, I think the latest count is 12 or 13 different district nodes, which is now hundreds of millions of square feet. And so when we, let's take Toronto, for example, and those aforementioned like 50 million square feet of built space. If a new technology, this is where we're getting into the future stuff, if a new technology came along that was, great and low carbon, well, we can deploy it in our plants. And then all of a sudden you're decarbonizing, not a room at a time or a floor or a building at a time. You're decarbonizing tens of millions of square feet of building space at a time. So what I see district energy is a lever to enable future change. And that's what gets me so excited about what we do. The impact is huge because of our scale. You deploy these technologies at a district level and you just have huge impact.
Right. And so you can kind of be that arguably business case scenario at scale that will allow for others to adopt it after you've kind of done that early adoption. Do you see it as that?
I mean, yeah, it could be. I mean, yeah, absolutely, it could be. But it also, though, is just there's certain things you can do when you're at this scale that you could not do at a single building level. Right. Like we're looking at extensively at our low carbon future. and what it means. We still make a lot of steam. Well, you generally need to burn things to make steam, and that's not very low carbon. But as we look into, we're trying to move away from steam best we can. So all of our new infrastructure is hot water, and again, that enables low carbon technologies. But maybe there's future ways to decarbonize with future technologies, steam creation, and we're looking at all sorts of things from renewable natural gas. And the list goes on. We have a slew of technologies that are kind of in the future pipeline of what we could apply.
Early stage sort of technologies. So let me ask you a different question, because this is sort of zero footprint. Back to what we were talking about. It's kind of what you're talking about. I'd love to hear sort of where it went from this point. Neither of us were on that, but there was sort of the carbon credit side of things. I'm wondering, is that still a thing? Do companies, organizations like Enwave or Brookfield, do you guys get involved in that? Is that even I just remember that was very much, it was another part of zero footprint that I wasn't part of, but I know they were very much into sort of the carbon credits. And I know there was sort of a world, I don't know if there was even like a world trading of them, or maybe that's what they were trying to do over there on the other side of that bookshelf. But is that still a thing, or can you talk to that at all? Or
it is still a thing.
I think you might have worked a little more closely with them than I did, for sure.
Yeah, a little bit. Although, I mean, like anything, accounting wise, it all depends on how good your accounting is, right? So the whole idea behind a carbon credit is, if the business over here does something that's carbon beneficial, then they get extra credits, and they can sell those credits to someone else who is, say, burning a lot of fossil fuels. But it all comes down to how good your accounting is. And some people, I think, have looked at that and said, well, it was kind of a wild west for carbon credits. Like someone who's going to plant a whole bunch of trees anyways, they're like, oh, well, this is carbon benefit. Maybe I'll just sell carbon credits at the same time. And it really wasn't a net carbon credit to the world. It's something they would have done anyway. So, but that's not to say that it can't work. And I'm not an expert in energy recs or requisitions or carbon credits or whatever you want to say. I'm not an expert, but we generally at Enwave are not trading in that. We're doing actual infrastructure that just is innately low carbon, serves our customers very directly with low carbon. And I think that it's a lot less nebulous than potentially carbon credit schemes could be. But I'm not. I mean, there's a time. I just
was wondering what had happened to that. I remember there was talk about it. It wasn't really in my wheelhouse. I wasn't really sure how it all worked. Obviously, the metrics of measuring it, right?
I'll do a little editorial on some of this though. So the world is all talking about low carbon or zero carbon or etc. I myself am not pushing zero carbon as much, because the way I see it, if we could get the whole world to 80% less carbon, that's pretty damn good. So why, let's focus on the first 80%, and then we can do the remaining 20 once we've solved the big one. And sometimes a lot of buildings that want to get to zero carbon, they will get most of the way with technologies potentially like district energy, etc., and then get the rest of the way with these carbon credits, and that's fine. But I'm not really concerned with that so-called last mile of carbon. I say just really, the low-hanging fruit are the things you can do that are innately low carbon out of the gates.
So is that? So let's actually. I mean, do you mind going kind of in the technical direction? I think this might be the most technical conversation, but I think it's interesting, especially as humans, right? I mean, you mentioned an 20% reduction to sort of 80% levels. Where does that, I mean, not to put on the prognosticator hat, but where does that, does that, it seems like a lot, but is that enough to kind of pull back from maybe where we're going if you're looking at, the grand scheme of things? Or what are the numbers really people should be concerned with? I know there's a lot of uncertainty, and people might actually believe it doesn't exist. I mean, but let's just say it does, between you and I, and let's just say, we have caused problems. Where is that barrier? What are some of the people in your shoes, thinking, what we need to do? Like, what is that low hanging fruit? I mean, obviously, Enwave's doing what it's doing. What are other organizations doing across the world, and where do we have to get to?
Yeah, that's such a broad question. I don't even know where to begin. But I mean, I think part of the question was, what do we have to do to get to change, to improve the trajectory that the world is on? And sure, there's a lot of debate. I mean, around carbon. There shouldn't really be a lot of debate, but there is. I think the one thing that people forget is that the future of a high carbon world is going to affect people disproportionately, right? There's a good chance that there's a good chunk of Canadian population there. The world may get warmer, and maybe it actually opens up more farmland, and some people benefit from it long term. But I think that coastal people in developing countries,
California sinks into the ocean.
California's going to have some issues, right? So it's going to hit people.
Yeah,
it's going to hit people very disproportionately.
Right.
So some people are like, "Oh, I'll be fine." Well, they might be right. They might be fine, but the whole world, on the aggregate,
as a whole,
especially when you look at drought-prone areas already, it could be disastrous. So we kind of have to look at it not from what's going to happen in my backyard, but what's going to happen worldwide. And sadly, we're not trending in a very good way to have the impact that we need to avert that kind of crisis. So that's why, I just, I want to pull as many levers as we can. Realistically speaking, again, we're at Enwave, we're doing all of this low carbon stuff, but not requiring bailouts or not requiring subsidies. We're just doing it using purest capitalism because of the scale that we're doing. Now, that's not always going to be the case. I'm also an advocate for carbon pricing, and I know that can sometimes that is a bad word for some people if they want to call it, demonize it and call it a carbon tax. But to me, that's one of the things that we need to do. Hey, if you pump pollution into a river, well, then you've got to, as an organization, figure out to clean it up or pay for it. And right now, you're just free to pollute with carbon. And the way to do that, it's still in a market-based solution, is to have carbon pricing, so that it just can
they measure that? Like, back to the carbon credits, is there like a sort of reliable metric or measurable that they can actually say you expelled X number of volume of carbon? I can't even speak there. You expelled X volume of carbon, right? That would be, I guess, the measure.
Yeah, tons of carbon or something like that. Yeah, I mean, like anything, if you're truly cynical, you could say there'd be ways to report incorrectly, etc. But but I think that on the whole, though, carbon disclosure and carbon accounting is getting pretty good. So if you could, if you were a power utility, or if you were heating a building, and people knew that it was, say, a gas boiler, they're gonna generally, it's not too hard to figure out how much carbon you're burning. So I think it's less of an issue of making it perfect and trying to do that. So just, I'd say use the reporting that we have. And again, I'm not an expert on carbon pricing. I just know that I like market-based solutions. I also do believe in regulation to a certain extent, but why not pull a lever that is, people sometimes forget that, and I'm oversimplifying and maybe getting some of my facts wrong here, but when they were fighting CFCs, which were harming the ozone layer, that to curb that, it was Reagan era Republicans that brought in sort of a cap and trade system on CFCs, because they said, let the market deal with it. And that had a positive effect. Sure, it cost a few more people, it was more expensive to do this, that, the other thing, but they let the market figure it out. And that was actually like kind of a right-wing solution. But now it's so politicized that some people just want to not talk about carbon pricing at all, and just put the head in the sand and said that carbon is not something that we should be worried about. And so, whereas I'm trying to look for, sort of in the work that I'm doing, using capitalism to make a positive impact, but then using the market also to, that's where carbon pricing comes in to have an impact.
Cool. So let's change. I mean, I love it. I think it's interesting. I think there's probably a lot that can be discussed on this. Probably a lot of it, I'm not going to lie, over my head.
A lot of it's over my head.
Which is fine. That's why I'm not a scientist or an engineer or a mathematician. I have a phys ed degree and an MBA. So anyways, let's change gears a little bit. Where do you see? So you have 3 young kids, young family, with N-Wave, loving it. What's kind of your trajectory? You know, I'm not going to say you're leaving N-Wave, but like, where do you see Geoff Olsen in 10 years? What do you have an entrepreneurial bug to get back into things, or do you see, you know, what are you looking at, or who's your favorite? We'll do a choice. What are you excited for from the sports world? Although pretty much everything's ended aside from football. Are you a football fan? I forget. I think you're Montreal Canadiens, right? Were you a Habs fan?
No, don't. I barely follow hockey. I'm a bandwagon Raptors fan.
Raptors, yeah. Okay, yeah. So not really on the sports angle. Okay, so where do you see the family going in 10 years, or you and your journey?
Yeah, I here at N-Wave, although we're a big company and we're owned by a very big company. It feels wholly entrepreneurial. There is no playbook on how you grow a district energy system, how you go to market, how you chat with customers. There's no playbook, and I think that there's so much to be done just in creating brand new models. So what's got me excited about N-Wave, amongst many other things, is the fact that it is entrepreneurial, albeit under a big company.
Right. Sort of intrapreneurial is sort of the term, right? Intrapreneurial.
Is that entrepreneurial?
Sure. That is the term, yes.
That's the catchphrase I should be using?
Yeah, intrapreneurial.
Yeah, well, okay, so intra or entrepreneurial, I find that with it, that we got it here. So, I mean, I am not like career motivated in that, I want to, have this title and by this year or this income and this, that, and the other thing. Like, we're always striving for improvement and upward movement there. But at this point in my career, I'm looking to have impact, right? And that's why, I mean, I've had various smaller companies reach out to me and maybe want to join their team type thing, and I look at them and it's just like it's hard to get excited when I would be going back to affecting maybe one building at a time or something. It just doesn't, like, the impact that I feel I'm having here at N-Wave is just so massive. It's part of what's got me jazzed. That's awesome. to be here. And so again, combination of the fact that it feels and is very entrepreneurial or entrepreneurial, and that it's big enough to have this big scale impact in an area of socially positive work, that is to say, low carbon, low energy technologies. I just want to move this industry, and I don't really care what I'm doing to. As long as I enjoy the work, and I actually enjoy what I do in this kind of business development, sales growth type area.
Are you in the office right now? Do you actually have to go in the office?
This is like my second day in at the office.
Oh yeah, so you just got back into. So is everyone moved back in?
We're experimenting.
Oh yeah.
What's that?
Okay. I said everyone, but you said no. You're experimenting.
Yeah, we're just, some of the management team are coming in from time to time, and just experimenting more. Phase 2, who knows what's going to happen? But it's really good to be back in at the office, I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in this backdrop for 7-8 months now, I guess, going on. So it'd be interesting. Our office is not far from here, so it'd be interesting to get back into there. But Halloween's canceled though, so that's not a good sign in the GTA.
I haven't broken that to my kids yet. That's going to be. Not fun.
I said, because my brother lives in Pickering, so technically Durham doesn't fall under it. So I said maybe we'll go visit, the aunt and uncle and kind of see if they can hand out some candies to us and maybe hit their neighbor or something. But just to kind of get out.
That's a good plan. That's a good plan.
Throw the costumes on. Cool, Geoff. I really appreciate you joining me.
Just good to reconnect.
Yes, definitely. What usually I end with a question. I'm going to go with just one question. Usually it's a choose your own adventure. You can do a choose your own adventure if you want. Here, you know what? We'll do it. We'll do it again. So it's either one word piece of advice to younger you, or your last words if you're on a cliff and you're about to perish.
So sorry, there's two versions here.
Two options. One is one word to younger you, piece of advice. Right. The other one is your last words to the world, your family, friends. You're about to fall off a cliff.
Okay. I mean, advice to my younger self. I don't know what the right word would be. I'll use the word carefree in a way. And what I mean by that is, don't be so concerned, with what every turn means, okay, I want to build my career. I want to get here. I want to get that. I want to do this, check those boxes,
Your grade 2 marks don't count kind of thing, right?
To a certain extent. Yeah. I got to be careful because I got kids who.
Right. Okay. Your JK, let's put it this way.
Back to JK
is not going to dictate your life. Right?
Well, actually, in that age, then my word is passion. If you're going back, that's probably even a better word. Passion. If you follow your passion, I don't want my kids to, or my former self to have just been like, well, I want to be in business, so I should become an accountant. I would want them to be like, I love accounting. I'm going to do accounting, or I just love this or love that, and because success follows from passion. So, so just trying to get people to follow their passion.
Definitely. So carefree and passionate about being carefree. Passionately carefree. I like that. Passionately carefree.
We're trying to come up with a new catchphrase here.
Yeah, there you go. Passionately carefree. Well, I had one on, I forget, I'll bastardize it, but it was like living unapologetically. Anyways, I'm not going to even try. But Geoff, really appreciate it. Thank you for joining me on the show here. I think we're on about episode like 65 or 66, so it's been pumping along. Not sure what's coming of it, but like I did say earlier, we have our very first issuer, Ego, launching a campaign on the Backers platform tomorrow, the 21st of October. So
that's phenomenally
pretty
exciting.
amazing.
I'm excited for you.
Pretty amazing that we've been able to build this a small team. So we don't have the global impact yet, but that's where we're
day one.
We're on that trajectory. Well, yeah, it feels like it's like overnight success that took 20 years, right? It's one of those things. But it's definitely been a journey. We should get together at some point. I mean, over a beer. Do you still drink the Stella? I might have that right. Stella, right? Remember we used to go to the.
Not at all.
No? Did you not drink the Stella? No. What did you drink?
You know what?
I picture you drinking in the tall glass.
Well, I really like beer, Justin, and it's hard to narrow it down to
beer. Then
you know what it would have been when we were at Zero Footprint. There was a bar just south of us that had Lef on tap.
Leffe, that was it. Yeah, the Lef.
That's the one. So
was that a Mercado? It was Mercado, wasn't it?
No, it was like that little hotel that was just south of
of
the building. I want to say it started with Oct or something like that. Now you're taking me back.
Yeah.
But yes, let's get.
And the coffee place on the north one, like the Iron Horse place. Remember that one? Dark Horse. Yes.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
So
anyways,
hopefully at some point in the future, we're allowed to go back out for beers again, because I'm feeling overdue in that department.
Yeah. Well, hit me up and we'll reconnect.
Yeah, man.
Awesome, Geoff. Everyone else, this is One Take. Thank you for joining me. I will see you guys again. It's One Take, powered by Backers. See you guys again tomorrow. Geoff, peace.
OMG, baby, tell them.